Hi everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and this is Lampworking 101.55. In this video I wanted to share a very simple Murrini technique, and I just wanted to reiterate the fact that I am not a Murrini maker. This is not what I do all the time, but I want to be able to dive into all these different techniques. If you're making Murrinis, it's a great place to start. So without further ado, let's start this fabulous firework Starburst Murrini. And you guys, I hope you're all doing safe and well, and we'll see you next time in the dungeon.
Okay, there's really only one major component in this Murrini. Like I said, it's really simple. We just need to start out by pulling a cane with a core of white. It can be any color you want on the outside. I'm not sure why I picked the colors that I did, but they're really not my favorite colors. But I made these anyway. So we're going to start out with the inside of white. And I'm going to build up, to have a nice large amount, a couple inches of the color. And then we'll roll it out a bit with the paddle. I'm looking to get it just a nice, straight, even sides. And then on top of that, we are going to wrap the whole bit of white in whatever color you prefer. I'm using a yellow right now, and I'm just wrapping it up. You can encase this in any way you feel comfortable. Doesn't have to be this way. I do leave the end open, but for right now, I just want to melt all the outside color in and get it back into that nice cylindrical shape. Now, on top of this, we're going to cover the whole thing in clear. And I just am doing a side swipe with the clear. I'm not going to add any to the front because when we're done with this clear, you want to kind of add a ring around the bottom. And then when you are melting it in, you can kind of push that clear glass to the very end of the mandrel. And then we're going to do the same to the other side. But what I want to do first is to be able to pull out that center core so everything follows with it. So I'm going to heat that front part up and then use my tweezers and just pull out the center until you notice the sides are starting to pull out as well. And then heat that up a little bit more because you want everything to pull out at the same point on both sides. So I'm going to pull that out a little bit and just take it off. And then I'll add my other mandrel to the other side, and that's it for this cane. We're just going to heat it up into our football shape and stretch it out. Now, everything will vary with this specific Murrini depending on how thick your layers are. So if you have a thicker layer of clear on the outside, the starburst will be more defined. All right, so you see I have pulled these 3 colors, and now we're going to go ahead and use that to build up the main Starburst Murrini. And the core is going to be clear. You definitely want to use clear for the core on this, or it won't be a Starburst Murrini, it'll be something else. And I'm going to add as much clear as I can on the end. It ends up being maybe about the size of my fingertip. More is better with this section than less because you want to have the Murrinis in the long run pull out slightly on the thicker side. In fact, it's kind of nice to have a thick side and a thin side so you get a nice variation of Murrinis. Now once we have this all shaped up into a really nice straight cylinder, we want straight sides on this because I'm going to use that cane and just try to draw straight lines from the front, from the back to the front. Don't worry too much if they're not perfectly straight. When you pull this out in the long run, nobody will notice. Okay, so you're just going to draw these on. I do notice a lot of people will cut these down into small canes and then lay them on. But I don't really have a hot plate, so I'm just drawing them on. And then what I want to do is make sure that the front lines and the back lines are as tight to the end as possible. So I'm going to heat this up, just roll it out a little bit, and I'm going to work on this front part somewhat. I need to pull all of those little canes out until they all are perfectly meeting in one point at the end. Make sure your back canes are also all the way pulled back. And then when you go to pull the clear out, it kind of felt a little thick to me. So I was pulling and thought, well, I better just use a little baby diamond shear. And then that helped me to pull all the canes right where I needed to. And that gives me a great spot to also put my little punty. This is really just a super awesome, easy way to start out any kind of Murrini making process, especially if you haven't made any. This is seriously like my second Murrini to make. So the other one you saw was just the circle. So I'm going to heat this up real nice. I always try to get a football shape before I pull anything out. It really helps. I will let you know right now that this one, I was a little excited when I pulled it out, and it was thinner than I was wanting it to be, but it still worked. So here are all, you see I have that nice thick one with the orange. So I have 3 different sized Murrinis, and I will go ahead and cut each one of them up so they're not too low, but then they're not too high. So you kind of see where I'm going with this, and I'm going to lay it down on my graphite pad, and then we'll start this bead. I have sped this up and chopped it down to where hopefully this process will go quicker, so it'll hold your attention to the end. I'm going to start with this is my bubblegum pink, and then right on top of that, I am going to add, this is a a Fetri dark violet, and it is slightly on the red side of violet, not so much on the blue side. But with that bubblegum pink underneath, just comes out to this amazing wine red. On top of that, I want to add some of my colloidal silver cane. If you want to know how to make this, I put the video out last week. It's 101.54. It's an amazing cane with suspended silver inside. So we're going to start out with the Murrinis here. I'm going to pick up one and heat up my bead, and I'm gently heating up the bottom of my Murrini. I'm not right in the flame, just right above it, so it will become easy to stick to the bead itself. I'm going to do that a couple times. I'm going to add, let's start out with 3. These are my thickest Murrinis. Start out with the thickest ones. And go ahead and make sure that they are nice and flat on your bead. And then we're going to go ahead and go in. The second step is just flattening them down just a little bit. You don't want to flatten this all the way. This is just the beginning of doing this Murrini. I'm going to heat up the top of each Murrini until I can see those lines start to pull together in a round, and then I will very slowly just push in the center of each one. I'll do this on every single Murrini that I lay down. Heat it up, push it in very gently, And that will allow all of those lines to come into a more central point. If you don't do this step, you might not get this effect. And then what we need to do is start melting it down and pushing it in. You're going to do this on every single one, heating and flattening, heating and flattening, very, very gently, just a little at a time. And you'll notice that the Murrini, as much as you start flattening it, it will get larger and larger and larger. And then you end up with just kind of flattening the edges around that Murrini, so it's all nice and smooth to the surface of the bead. And then you move on to the next one and repeat. And we're going to repeat all over this bead these great little Starburst Murrinis. They do look like fireworks. It's just so cool to be able to do this and have fun with this. Place these wherever you want. I want to kind of do a Murrini, or like a Starburst on top of a Starburst. It's so cool to be able to do this. All you have to do is just place it somewhere on the other Murrini, but it has to be flat before you can do this. I'm going to add every Murrini that I want at the end here. And yes, you can do each one individually and really spot each one where you want it to be. But I thought, you know what, for this video, I want it to go a little quicker. So once I have all the Murrinis placed, I do the same thing. I go ahead and heat each one up individually and just press it down slightly. I want to make sure that each Murrini is placed well on the bead and won't pop off. And then we go in and heat each one up individually and start pressing right in the center. This process is time-consuming, but it is so satisfying in the end. I just love to see this part right here, flattening each one out and seeing it get larger and larger and seeing that pattern emerge. I felt like this was a good accomplishment. So if you can make these and get them into a bead, take your time. They will come out amazing looking. And then once everything is as flat as I can get it, I'm not going to totally smooth this bead out. I'm just going to round it out a little bit. And that is it, you guys. That silver cane did some really cool effects as well. It's only clear and silver, but it gave a really nice blue effect. So it really helps out with that background. All right, here is our finished bead. Yay! I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you next time.